Hi. Over the past year and a half or something, I have been doing a little bit of work on an organization called QAnon. QAnon. An organization which, in the meantime, has become exposed as one of the big producers of conspiracy theories in the field of the alt-right, and has indeed been instrumental in the election of Mr. Trump in 2016 and so forth. So it used to be obscure when we started working on it. It's quite mainstream now. And the work I did on it was done with a guy called Andrei Prochaska, who's also the author of this here. All right. And I'm sure this is going to be a must read for anyone in the field of the connection between the political world and the world of social media shortly. And so we focused on learning procedures in the world of conspiracy theories, specifically QAnon. Because here's the question. These conspiracy theories, from a rational viewpoint, of course, are rubbish. And all of them have been comprehensively debunked on the basis of fact checks, science, and other very, very well established ways of constructing reality and the truth within reality. All right? So all of them have been comprehensively debunked. And there's many of them. I mean, it's not just, the type of crazy global conspiracy theories that you get from QAnon, but think about, the climate crisis denial, the anti-vaxxers now in the context of Corona. There's loads and loads and loads of things. And each time, they raise the question of learning. How do people learn those conspiracy theories to be real, to be true, and to be a reliable representation of the world and the state of affairs within the world? This was the question that we anchored upon. And I would like to reiterate and maybe elaborate in a few minutes one or two of the little key elements, in our argumentation about conspiracy theories in general and QAnon in particular. And we argued, that you need to start from the questioning of the notion of rationality itself. We're not used to that. So we live in a knowledge economy in which the rational, as a producer of the truth, is unquestionably the best road of doing so, right? There's very, very little in the way of challenge religion to some extent, but other than that, it's the hard facts, okay? And we're all duty bound, to the production of the truth on the basis of hard facts, rationally established facts, okay? So there is very little in the way of a tradition of questioning rationality, but if you look at these conspiracy theories, they all challenge rationality. And the argument, I've already given it earlier, is those who insist on rational analysis of the facts do that because they want to lie, right? They don't want our reality, our truth, our facts to be exposed and to be known by you, right? Which is why, they get the banner of science up and they claim moral but also epistemic higher ground. So far, so good. So we need to deconstruct it and also assume that there are multiple forms of being reasonable, in which our traditional way of rationality, a science-based rationality, is just one. And others may include different forms of light rationality. So mini rationalities that are actually not very rational but reasonable in the sense that they can convince other people. All right, and of course, here is the essence of any learning process, is the fact that I would be able to convince you of something, a particular state of affairs, and then you have learned about it, right? But I have to be able to convince you, right? So it needs to be convincing, and it usually, in a way, is. Now, we are actually very familiar with that because we're now in a world of light rationalities, if you wish, that was described by the likes of Garfinkel, of Irving, Goffman, John Gumpertz, Herbert Bloomer, Anselm Strauss, and so on. There's a long tradition of looking at the logic of everyday life, if you wish. Also Bourdieu, evidently, also joined into that a little bit later. But there's a long tradition of working around forms of rationality that are basically irrational from a scientific viewpoint. Okay? And we need to start from that. We need to, of course, take that serious and dig into the specific forms that light rationalities now can acquire in a universe, an economy of social media, or at least an economy of knowledge in which social media now have acquired a very prominent place next to all sorts of other forms of circulation, production, and distribution of knowledge. Okay, so we need to get this entirely on board, otherwise we're going to miss the full essence of it. Now we have a word for this, or we coined the word for the particular thing that we want to engage with. So within this domain of light rationalities, and when you, for instance, observe battles, online battles about conspiracy theories, one of the things you very often see is what we call ergoic effects. Ergo is the Latin word for this is why. So the Latin equivalent of because. So it creates cause and effect relations. Ergoic effects. And so what is an ergoic effect? It's an effect in which I am able for you to create a kind of logic. You ask me, why is the sky blue? And I have an answer to that, right? A particular type of answer to that. And then you say, oh, that's why. Ergo. Oh, that's why. That's because. So whenever I wonder in the future about the blueness of the sky, I just need to return, to the logic you gave me, and I have a decent explanation, right? Now, these ergoic effects are within these particular sets of data that we looked at. They have to be articulated in very specific ways, and I think there are three main features there. One, they need to be short, right? So no lengthy elaborations of an argument, no big files need to be shown, no very, very long sessions of question and answer need to be engaged in. No. It's crisp, it's quick, and it's very, very short. Okay? Which is why, for instance, particular types of circulation on particular social media platforms like Twitter that are made to be short are a really good match. And so we can see how the shortness of this particular type of ergoic work that people do is actually made for Twitter, and Twitter is made for it. It's the same, with all sorts of new apps that we see. Like if you take TikTok, all of it is short. As a consequence, it's made for exactly that point, or that kind of ergoic work. All right. So short. Second, it needs to be clean, meaning no exceptions, right? No gray areas, no yes but. It's either yes or no, it's either black or white. It's clean, it's absolutely clean. And so the answer, the ergoic work you need to do is the other party asks you why, and the answer is, well, it's actually quite simple. And then you give it, right? So short, clean. And then third, it needs to be replete with implicatures, all right? So in other words, the very, very short invocation, let me put it this way, the very, very short message you give invokes a very broad set of implicatures, things that are implied by it, automatically, by association, by habit, or by previous ergoic work, okay? So it can be anchored, of course, in previous ergoic work, which is why the mentioning of a name might be sufficient, to create a full argument. In this world of QAnon, it's absolutely sufficient, to mention the name Soros, to invoke a world of conspiracy in which this very wealthy Jewish gentleman, actually pulls the strings. He sets up organizations, he sets up think tanks, he influences politicians, political parties. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. Universities, intellectuals, writers, name it. He's everywhere. So just naming that one individual, that one word that is his name, is more than enough, to invoke all of this. And it's just, the same thing happens, when you rename something. Okay, like for instance, renaming the coronavirus, the Wuhan virus, or the China virus. Okay, because what are these implicatures? These implicatures are fully developed sets of a plot, the agents, so the actors in the plot, who's involved, the structure of the plot, the effects, and so on, and so on, and so on. A full storyboard, if you wish, that is invoked by just a renaming. So if I use the word Wuhan virus or China virus for the coronavirus, okay, then I suggest that it was from China, but maybe also by China. And that in that sense, it may be connected, with conspiracy theories about the Chinese trying to gain world dominance, by eliminating the United States and what have you, by waging biological warfare, etc., etc. So what we see here is the use. So we have the three features. It's short, it's clean, and it replete with implicatures, which is why a very, very small, a quick and persuasive action can be made that basically triggers a learning process, right? A learning process leading to ergoic forms of light rationality in turn. So these people, whenever after a particular type of question, will give the answers that they've learned for the reason that these answers just fit, it just works for them. And it's persuasive. It persuades all sorts of other people. And in my view, but I haven't elaborated it in any way, it works because it connects with these ethno-methods that Garfinkel described, with the logic of everyday life, in which a lot of what we do, all right, is irrational. A lot of the things that we rationalize are in essence irrational, all right? And whenever we are being interrogated about the irrationality of those parts of our behavior, well, very often we also revert to these weird forms of ergoic reasoning, just try to describe here in the context of QAnon. Thank you very much.